Once again, it's absolutely sensational late race pace, which fires Morelli to the podium. A brilliant job by the Argentinian. Not just Leo Messi that's making sporting headlines back in Argentina.
Yeah, if he can figure out the first half of races, he's going to be very difficult to beat himself, isn't he, Marco Morelli? Because there's no question that at the end of Moto3 battles, he is the rider with the superior closing pace. Double points finish then for MLab for the grid squad today. Kelso, 8th actually, a heck of a result given that he had a 3-second penalty when he was in that battle for the podium. And as mentioned, Eddie O'Shea beating his fellow Brit Scott Ogden to the final point by just 12 thousandths of a second.
Can't exactly say that both of them are particularly happy with 8th and 15th, can you? It's the grid racing team to look on. Yeah, Morelli's first podium in 6 Grand Prix since he was also 3rd at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez. But Max Quiles, well, there's been only 1 Grand Prix so far this year, and we saw how angry he was to miss out on not just the podium but the win in Mugello. But other than that, it has just been podiums after podiums after podiums after podiums. Quite astonishing performance by Quiles. Big smile on his face and with good reason. Marco Morelli's first podium in 6 Grand Prix. A great late race pace. What a charge from Morelli. He's with Jack.
Marco, what a brilliant final few laps they were. You were just inside the top 10, but battled your way through to take what I imagine is a huge podium. Nico saying after some difficult moments, how much does this podium mean?
Yeah, to be honest, it was super difficult race. At the beginning, I started really quite well, which is important for us because in the last races, the start was completely disaster. I lost a lot of positions, so we managed well. But the problem is in the half of the race, I had a mega chata on the front. I lost a lot of grip on the right side, and I said, well, this is done to me. I cannot do anything more. But in the end, I noticed if I change my riding style, was better and don't have chata, no? So in the end, I try to manage this. I adapt. I go faster again. And in the end, I take the podium. Incredible, because I can guarantee you, in the middle of the race, I say, okay, this is top 10, and I will never say this, but hopefully some crash will help me, no? But in the end, I do it by myself. It's really nice and happy. Say thank you to all the people, to my team, because they believe on me. We had a few races that we was struggling a bit more, and now this is the gift.
Great ride today, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, cracking ride that by Morelli. He has scored points in all 10 Grand Prix so far this season. 7 times he's finished inside the top 10. An Argentinian won a Grand Prix here in Assen back in 2005. Sebastian Porto in the 250cc race on the top step on that occasion. And we'll see the Argentinian flag waving proudly above the podium once again here in the Grand Prix of the Netherlands. You heard it from Morelli there himself. He thought it was maybe going to be at best a top 10. But what a charge he produced in those last 5 or 6 laps. He was arguably the quickest rider on circuit. Impressive pace. He was charging his way through some pretty heavy traffic. Adrian Fernandez, well, he exceeded, Guido Pini, his teammate, exceeded the track limit on the last lap, demoted 1 position. He'd already got a 3-second penalty as well for Hanni Pini. So he gets classified in 18th place. Pretty dramatic day once again for Leopard Racing. Both of their riders getting sanctions in that Grand Prix. David Almansten strong once again, but it's second to Quiles here in Assen. Let's get his thoughts with Jack.
David, another brilliant ride to get onto the podium, pushing Max all of the way. In the end, it looked as though that harder compound rear tyre for Max just paid the difference in those final 3 laps. How pleased are you with your efforts?
Yes, of course. It was a very good weekend to prepare the race. And I started very strong. My feeling with the bike was perfect, I think. And yes, I pushed in the limit lap by lap, and later in the finish laps I need a little bit with the rear tire because I have the soft one, but well, I prepared very well the last sector, but in entering the left corner I lose the rear part and I lose all. But well, it was a very good weekend and we are very happy.
Top job today.
Thank you.
Yeah, as he mentioned, thanks Jack, thanks to David Almanza, it was just that mistake, wasn't it, at turn 9, the bolt on the last lap as he was trying to set himself up for a chicane attack on Quiles. We know how good Almanza was on the brakes into that final chicane, but unfortunately we were denied that thrilling finale because it was just that crucial mistake. He was trying to be eager to get on the power, wasn't he, through 9 to set himself up for an attack through the final sector where he'd been strong throughout that Grand Prix, to be fair to Almanza. But Max Quiles, once again, has been phenomenal. Quiles with his 6th win of 2026. He's with Jack.
Max, victory number 6 of 2026. You've won in every way possible this year, but to do it around this historic venue at Assen, just talk us through what a moment this is.
Yeah, it's always special to win here. So happy with the race. I was comfortable at the beginning, so I said, okay, maybe I don't push now. I leave energy for the end. And yeah, then I said, okay, I think now is the turn to push. I'm going to push and try what happens. And I saw they were struggling behind, so I said, okay, let's keep pushing. And yeah, I could open some gap. Almanza was really fast, but in the last lap I pushed even more, and yeah, I could win it. So it's always special here in Assen. This is a historic track. I've always seen it on TV, and I was saying one day I want to win here, and we did it. So thanks to all the people that they were cheering a lot, and it's really hot. So thanks to them. Yeah, let's keep going.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, the TT Circuit Assen, you speak to any rider, it's one of those hallowed venues that they really do want to have success at. Max Quiles then now can add a Dutch Grand Prix to his rapidly expanding winning trophy cabinet. That was the key move he made at turn 8 at Steckenval. And despite David Almanza pushing as hard as he could, he was on the limit. Quiles took it by a relatively comfortable half a second. Job done. Job done once again by a rider who's doing a bit of a number on the Moto3 field at the moment, isn't he? 90 points. 90 points. Quiles has established his lead in the standings. We're not even at the halfway point of this year's World Championship. It's the most points any rider has collected after 10 Grand Prix in Moto3 history. We're looking at a rider that is building towards, arguably, not just one of the greatest seasons in Moto3, but one of the greatest individual seasons in Grand Prix history. No back-to-back wins, no back-to-back podiums for Hakim Danish. At one stage, we were holding that dream, weren't we, as he fought his way through it from 16th to 2nd. But it looked like Danish just took too much out of those Pirelli tyres to get himself into contention. Still another quality ride, still a brilliant ride for Danish. 16th to 7th, and he does indeed move up into 6th place in the championship, with Vader Batama crashing out of podium contention very early in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, this was when Danish's afternoon started to career downhill. I mean, got up into 2nd place, wide of the chicane, which cost him that 2nd place, and clearly had just taken too much out of his Pirelli rubber, making that progress up the order. Suffered in the latter stages, but with that trio of post-race penalties, he does at least salvage a 7th place in the end. But once again, serving notice as to what a threat he's going to be, not just for the rest of the season, but into next year in Moto3. I think the field will all be very happy that Max Quiles won't be a part of this class anymore, with the expectation that he'll be moving up surely to Aspar's Moto2 squad for next season, given that they are going to have 2 vacancies opening up in that class. So many records that Max Quiles must surely have in sight now in the second half of this season. Of course, the first job for him is to win the World Championship, with 6 wins already to his name. Record for most wins in a season could yet potentially come his way. The most podiums in a season very much within his reach. He's already up to 9. The record is 15. So 6 in the remaining 12 Grand Prix to equal it, 7 to beat it. Who would bet against him at the moment as Jorge Martinez Aspar joins his 2 riders up on the podium. It's the 3rd time now this season that the Aspar pair have been together in the top 3. Of course, Morelli's podium in Jerez was only given to him retrospectively after Fernandez was disqualified. Class ride from Almanza today to take 2nd. The only rider that could keep Quiles in sight, but in the end, that was all he could do, was watch Max Quiles continue his runaway streak at the top of the Moto3 World Championship. 211 points from a possible 250 after 10 rounds of the season. Celebrations for the CF Moto Aspar team, who really do extend their advantage too in the teams championship today, up to 90 points, with one half of Red Bull KTM IO crashing out. Third then for Marco Morelli. Once he puts the full race together, watch him go. And surely we'll see him enjoying victory himself before this season is done. Second place for David Almanza. Second podium in the last three. He was a hair's breadth away from the podium last weekend in that dramatic finish at Brno 2. Up in a third in the World Championship, just 12 points behind Alvaro Carpe is Almanza. When you factor in that he's missed a Grand Prix to injury and another to illness, he could well have at least kept this championship a little closer. But Max Quiles, there's no question, is the total class of this Moto3 field. His losing streak of one snapped in no time as Quiles wins at Assen.
Max Quiles conquers the Cathedral, and he did it in dominant style. The biggest Moto3 victory here in Assen since 2018. He becomes just the fourth rider in Moto3 history to podium in 9 of the opening 10 rounds. He has been once again on a different level. Unrivaled domination this by the 18-year-old, who will be moving up to Moto2 next year. And as he mentioned, he's a bit of a student of the history of the sport, and he knows that it was a big, big win, this one. To win the Grand Prix of the Netherlands here at the iconic TT Circuit Assen, it is always something very, very special. One a rider wants to have on their CV. As Almanza makes sure that he's going back with an empty Prosecco bottle, and quite rightly so, because he worked hard for that one after 20 laps here in Assen. But it is a double podium for Aspar, and Max Quiles will take a 90-point lead in the World Championship to our next Grand Prix in the Sachsenring. Max
Quiles wins the Dutch TT. David Almanza kept him honest, but had to settle for second place. Marco Morelli with his extraordinary late charge to third. Third and fourth for Argentina, with Valentin Peroni in fourth place. His best result since way back at the beginning of the season. Rios, career best fifth, ahead of Uriarte. Danish 7th, Kelso and Fernandez each took 3-second penalties to finish 8th and 9th. O'Gorman 10th ahead of Salmela, who lost 6 seconds, having initially crossed the line up inside the top 5. Points for Esteban Yamanaka Batelli and Eddie O'Shea. Of course, the high-profile retirements, including Carpe, second in the World Championship, and Vader Pratama, who crashed out of that leading group. Of course, Adrian Cruces, another rider, taken down in that leading group when he couldn't avoid Carpe's crash. And that's the damage from Carpe's point of view in the championship. Quiles extends his lead now up to 90 points. Carpe retains second, but Almanza now takes third away from Brian Uriarte. He's 102 off the lead. Uriarte stays fourth. Morelli is fifth ahead of Hakim Danish, who replaces Vader Pratama in the top 6. Constructors Championship, KTM's victory today, coupled with the best Honda finishing 5th for Jesus Rios, means that the reigning champions are now 114 points clear. And in the team standings, CF Moto Gaviota Aspar with first and third today extend their lead over Ribble KTM IO to 90 points. IO scoring just the 10 points today with Brian Oriate's 6th place. Some highlights. Max Quiles winning from pole position, but it was far from as simple as that. Joel Kelso getting a good start as he tried to hand NLab Honda a first Moto3 podium. Brian Oriate, a big mover as he moved up from third to second into turn 1. Max's aggression in that first sector. Straight through on Kelso through turn 3. And into 5 up the inside of Max Quiles and Marco Morelli as crash for Alvaro Carpe as he clipped the rear tyre of Morelli, took himself and Cruces out of the action. Peter Patama and Hakim Danish, the stars from Southeast Asia last weekend in Brno, both launching themselves straight into the leading battle themselves from their lowly grip positions. Danish ran as high second at one point before his charge at the order took a toll on his tyres. Jesus Rios moving briefly up into second himself as he chased a career best result. But as has been the case on a few occasions in Moto3 this season, the cream rising to the top, that being Almanza and Quiles as they proved too strong for their pursuers. Quiles striking into Steckenball. Although he was fast enough to stay with him, Almanza wasn't fast enough to attack him. 2 Tech 3 KTMs were also getting stuck in, although Salmela would lose a top 5 after his 6-second penalty was applied. But nothing could stop Max Quiles today. Now, every time he's failed to win in 2026, he's won the next one. Max Quiles bounces back once again after the disappointment of Brno. Quiles wins in Assen and further tightens his grip on the Moto3 World Championship.
It's the last weekend in June, which means only one thing. MotoGP is ready for one of its biggest rounds of the season at the TT Circuit Assen. Located 200 kilometres northeast of Amsterdam and on the calendar for nearly 80 years, Assen's rich and proud history makes it a track every rider dreams of winning at. Who will conquer the Cathedral of Speed? It's time to race in MotoGP. Good afternoon and welcome back to the TT Circuit Assen. It has just passed midday local time here in the northeast Netherlands as we head to the midway point of this year's MotoGP World Championship. On the weekend here, Chapter 10 well and truly underway here on race day Sunday. That has so far in MotoGP been all about one manufacturer, as Aprilia have been dominant throughout the weekend so far. Coming up later on, over 26 laps in the top class, Jorge Martin will fire away from pole position for the first time as a factory Aprilia rider, as Trackhouse Aprilia look to double up after their sensational performance in the sprint yesterday, with Ralph Fernandez victorious, leading over Trackhouse 1-2 with Ayagura. Back-to-back silver medals in the space of 7 days for the former Moto2 world champion. who will be our latest Moto2 World Champion? Well, we're about to take another step towards finding out here in Assen, because up next, over 22 laps, it is the battle for supremacy here in the Intermediate World Championship category. And it's been some week in terms of qualifying for Colombia's David Alonso, who yesterday, with a 135.236, made it back-to-back poles. He was on pole position last weekend in Renault before he suffered last gasp heartache to Ivan Ortola in the closest Moto2 finish of the season so far. A couple of, well, one surprise name certainly on the front row of the grid. Alberto Ferrandez, Blue Crew Pramac Yamaha rider, on the front row for the very first time. Ferrandez has qualified inside the top 10, with Ethan Guevara second in the World Championship, 15.5 points behind series leader Manu Gonzalez coming into this round 10. Huge expectations, high hopes for the riders we've just seen on screens there. The Netherlands ambitions resting on the shoulders of Zonta van den Gorberg. He's running a special home race livery, as you saw there. Zonta qualifying in 14th place. In fact, both home heroes are going from the same row, because Colin Vire on row 5 as well in 15th place. 22 laps then coming up shortly in the company of Matt Burt, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down on what is a hot grid, but thankfully not as hot as Friday and Saturday here in the northeast Netherlands. That's for the first time since the Saxon Ring last year, the first time in 21 Grand Prix that two Bosca scorers will start on the front row. On that occasion, it was Jake Dixon and Tony Arbolino. This time around, though, it's two teammates from the Blue Crew. It's Alberto Ferrandez and Ethan Guevara, with world champs leader Manu Gonzalez. Well, he's going to go from the middle of the third row in 8th place. As always, Lewis, a tough one to call, this one. Unpredictable Moto2 has been all again in 2026. This one should be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one, with Alonso looking to banish some demons from a week ago after leading for so long, but ultimately being passed at the very last corner by Ivan Ortola. And a bit of a wild card next to him in the form of Alberto Ferrandez. Double front row for the Blue Crew Bosca scorers, as you mentioned. Key opportunity for Guevara to try and gain World Championship points. An opportunity that passed him by a week ago in Brno, when Manu Gonzalez came from the 5th row of the grid to beat him on the very last lap. Once again, Gonzalez, the championship leader, who has looked good in practice, it has to be said. Surprised to see him so deep down the order, but he is playing catch-up from row 3.
Behind that front row, which we have mentioned, of course, Alonso, Ferrandez and Guevara. There's quite a significant change to the grid positions thereafter, certainly involving row 2 and downwards. Ital Trans Racing team rider Dani Munoz had qualified in 4th place on the grid. He was due to head the second row, his best qualifying of the season. Unfortunately, Lewis, there's going to be, well, there is a penalty coming his way. He's now right at the back. Yeah,
he didn't run the correctly homologated aero kit, the fairing on the front of his Ital Trans. We have, of course, seen before Aspar fall foul of that when they didn't have the front mudguard on Holgado's bike in Le Mans, and they were disqualified. So a heavy penalty for the Ital Trans team and for Dani Munoz, who came through Q1, qualified 4th, but lost it all. He goes from the back of the grid. Just to add some context to what you just saw on screen there, if you weren't with us in the Moto3 race, the long lap penalty loop was out of commission due to some overnight rain, which was still in the long lap penalty loop. That has been cleared, so if riders do get that penalty, the long lap penalty loop is open for Moto2 and MotoGP.
David Alonso then on pole position for the second time in a week. There's so much expectation, the home hopes resting on the shoulders of Colin Vire. He's 15th on the grid. Let's get some thoughts from Jack.
Colin, goes without saying, big pressure coming into this one. A huge crowd here wanting to have something to cheer for. How are you feeling ahead of your home Grand Prix?
Not too bad. Qualifying was a little bit difficult, but yeah, I really, to be honest, it didn't show our real pace. I think there's more to give. But yeah, to be honest, I feel quite okay. And yeah, let's see how the race evolves. I will try to attack as much as possible and see from there where we can get.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Colin Vire. Of course, he is 14th on the grid with the Dani Munoz penalty. Nevertheless, a tough home Grand Prix in prospect for Colin. It's his lowest Grand qualifying since Phillip Island last year. Well, there's the tail of the tape so far this season for Ethan Guevara. His last 5 Grand Prix from Le Mans onwards have been pretty impressive. The win in Le Mans, a podium in Catalonia. He's stringing together a very impressive, consistent season, isn't he, Guevara? 15.5 points, so he sits behind Gonzalez in the championship. Guevara launching from 3rd.
And 6 points further back in the title chase is Celestino Vietti, who's promoted from 6th in qualifying to 5th on the grid. Vietti had a problem in practice when he crashed right at the start of the session, which put him in Q1, but he recovered from that. Next to him on the 2nd row is Senna Regis, who has looked good in practice so far. He's now talking to Jack.
Yeah, Senna, it's been a great weekend so far. You've looked really fast over 1 lap and on race rhythm as well. How are you feeling ahead of this?
Yeah, feeling really good. We've put together a good weekend so far. Yeah, 2nd row here is not bad. Yeah, I feel like we have decent pace, and that's positive for today. So we just need to get a good start and make some decisive overtakes, because I think, I don't know, a couple of maybe the Bosco Screws ahead, I don't think on paper have the best pace. So yeah, of course David on pole will obviously try to get the head start like last week. So yeah, he will probably be the one to catch at the beginning, but we need to be there at the end, because we know we have the pace at the end to attack. So that's my plan today, and let's see.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Senna Regis. Points in his last 7 starts, all top 10. 5 of those have been top 6s in this rumour about Tech 3 KTM and MotoGP will not go away. Strong rumours that Aegis is a leading contender to slot into Gunther Steiner's top-class project next season. Occupying the 4th place on the grid that Danny Munoz thought was going to be his is now Danny Holgados, as we just saw there on screens. Holgados qualified top 5 in 7 of 10 Grand Prix. Let's jump 1 row ahead of him though and go to the right, a 2nd in the World Championship, Ethan Guevara with Jack.
Yeah, 2nd in the World Championship, firing away from the front row of the grid. This feels like a big race, Ethan. How are you feeling?
So the feeling right now is good. In these 2 laps I understand a little bit more, but the goal is arrive in the podium, but my real goal is finish the race in a good position.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
And happy birthday as well to Ethan Guevara. He turns 22 today. I'll be hoping to celebrate with a podium finish as always. Well, the biggest cheerleader for Alex Screege is always Pedro Acosta. It comes down to high five his great friend for Clint Racing Team, Alex Screege, up from 9th to 8th on the grid. And with the Danny Munoz penalty, it does mean that Joe Roberts will now bumps up 1 row. He qualified 10th, but he starts 9th on row 3.
Yeah, the American Racing teammates complete the top 10 with Philip Salac in 10th place. You could argue that the intact duo are slightly out of position on the grid, because they have both looked very good in practice. They start 6th and 7th. What are their chances? Tom Luty's with Jack.
Yeah, we've obviously just heard from Senna, who is fancying his chances, just says he has to be there at the end of the race to compete. For Manu, Tom, I guess he's got similar pace. The issue is coming through from the 3rd row of the grid.
Yeah, it makes it not easier, let's say, the 3rd row. I said yesterday the first 2 rows would be easier or would be the best to start into the race. Okay, Manu is now in the 3rd row. Okay, he have a little bit more of challenge, because it's not that easy to overtake here. But yeah, as you said, the pace looks good. I think the job done over the weekend was good, and this is where he rely on. So I think for both riders we can go very positive into this race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Dynavolt rider coach and mentor Tom Luty. And well, unfortunately, 24 places on the grid, worse off than he was anticipating. Is poor old Danny Munoz. The fairing infringement saw him banished from both qualifying sessions, so he is now right at the back of the grid. We saw yesterday in qualifying, he's certainly got the 1 lap pace. Can he do it over the race distance to claw himself back into a point scoring chance?
Yeah, the problem for Munoz was because he was in Q1 yesterday, he wasn't just disqualified from Q2, but from Q1 as well, because his bike didn't pass the necessary technical inspections in the entire qualifying session, which is why he drops all the way to the back of the grid. Philip Salac's front row streak came to an end, because you saw him there sitting in 10th place, having qualified in 11th. He himself has had some issues through the weekend. He had some technical gremlins on Friday afternoon, but he does have a 2027 contract now in his pocket with American Racing.
Back-to-back podiums in the last 2 for Philip Salac. He's the first Czech rider to finish on a home podium in Brno since Lukas Pešek all the way back in 2007, the 125cc race. So Czech fans certainly went home happy, didn't they, 7 days ago in Brno. Taya Furusato is definitely getting the hang of a Moto2 bike, isn't he, right now? He's going to start from 11th on the grid, is Furusato. His best qualifying performance in Moto2 so far. He's coming into this Grand Prix full of confidence. Back-to-back point scoring finishes for Furusato. He was definitely making big strides forward in his rookie season.
And it's not all bad news for Italtrans, as you just saw. Yes, we've already discussed Dani Munoz starting from the very back of the grid, but the best qualifying of 2026 so far, Adrian Huertas. That, of course, with the penalty for his teammate, has ensured he will start from the 4th row.
Best qualifying in 17 since Hungary last year for Huertas. BMW safety car then peels away at the front of the grid. David Alonso led for all but one corner last weekend in Renault, didn't he, before he had his pocket pick late on by Ivan Ortola. Ortola eventually becoming the 63rd different winner in the Moto2 World Championship. Well, there he is then in the special Netherlands home livery, looking super cool. He'll be hoping he looks super fast as well. Zonta van den Gorberg, 13th place on the grid, comes into his home Grand Prix actually in some pretty decent form, the 20-year-old. He scored points in 4 of the last 5 Grand Prix. 12th he was here last year. His only points finished in front of his home crowd in 4 previous starts in Assen.
The longest point streak of his Grand Prix career. And there is Colin Via, who we've already heard from on the grid. He starts from 14th place, of course, came so close to Moto3 glory here a couple of years ago when he also had his pocket picked by Ivan Ortola in the very latter stages. It will take some heroic effort to get himself in the victory battle this time, but he has plenty of home support to cheer him on.
Well, we know where his allegiance lies. Pedro Acosta coming up later on the factory KTM with the 26th lap Grand Prix of the Netherlands in MotoGP. Picked up a single point in yesterday's sprint. De Acosta, he is definitely in the Alex Escreech camp. So keep an eye on Escreech, who's going to be going from 8th place on the grid. The birthday boy then, happy 22nd birthday to Ethan Guevara. Will he be celebrating in style from the front row of the grid? His 4th front row of 2026. Alberto Ferrandez has been the star performer in many respects here in Assen. His first ever front row start, first time he's ever qualified inside the top 10. But it's back-to-back poles for Colombia's David Alonso. Can he take his first win of 2026 here? Alonso leads the field away in Assen.
22 laps of TT Circuit Assen to come. This is Moto2, the Grand Prix of the Netherlands. Back-to-back poles for David Alonso. A first front row start in the class for Roberto Ferrandez, out qualifying his teammate Ethan Guevara for the first time. The birthday boy starts 3rd. Dani Munoz had qualified 4th, but disqualified from qualifying yesterday, which promotes Holgado, Vietti and Seneragius onto row 2. Manu Gonzalez, his worst qualifying since Austin. He starts 7th ahead of Alex Escreech and Joe Roberts. Philip Salach, of course, off the back of his home podium last time out. He heads row 4 with Tio Ferrosata, a career best 11th on the grid, and Adrian Huertas, his best of 2026. The Dutch duo next up, Van den Gorberg and Via for the home fans on the 5th row ahead of Czech winner Ivan Ortola. Aaron Canet lines up in 16th on the back of 3 consecutive DNFs. He's got Tony Arbolino and Angel Piqueras for company. A 3rd Q1 exit in the row for Denison Chu, which is why he's 19th ahead of Jose Antonio Rueda, and Ayumi Sasaki, who crashed 3 times on Friday afternoon. Lynetta, Zuratuza and Garcia next up from 3 substitutes who complete the grid. Ralston, Pavelec and Jorge Navarro, who is in for the injured Barry Baltas.
So here we go then, chapter 10 about to unfold here at the TT Circuit Assen in Moto2. What are the nerves like for Alberto Ferrandez, flying away from his first ever front row start. This is how the land lies in terms of the World Championship. Manu Gonzalez with 7 podiums in the opening 9 Grand Prix. That's why he's established a pretty commanding 50.5-point lead in the World Championship. It does not matter what happens here in Assen and at the Sachsenring next time out. He will go into the summer break as the Moto2 World Championship leader, but just starting to show some top form. We've had to wait quite a long time for it, is David Alonso. Pole position last weekend in Brno, did so much of the front running, didn't he, in the Grand Prix of Czechia, but hard to believe Alonso had to wait until round 9 to register his first podium finish of the campaign. A podium which does see him come into this Grand Prix of the Netherlands 5th in the World Championship.
The tyre situation could not be simpler for you all watching along with us at home. Soft front and rear for every rider in the field.
Perfect, a level playing field then ahead of this 22-lap battle in Assen. There is Danny Holgado, both the Aspar riders. inside the top 6 on the grid. Manu Gonzalez, he's going to start from the head of row 3 in 7th. The orange flares have been led off on the run through the timber chicane. The Dutch fans, well, they are out in their numbers. They're enjoying the Sunday sunshine here in Assen. Of course, they've got all eyes on just 2 riders in this Grand Prix, Van den Gorberg and Colin Veijer, alongside each other on that 5th row of the grid. The riders then come to the Grand Prix. Despite 2 crashes on Friday afternoon, Alberto Ferrandis picked himself up, dusted himself down and started in the front row of the grid for the first time, alongside his Boscascura teammate Ethan Guevara. Keep an eye on centre Aegis, so Manu Gonzalez is going to come charging through. Here we go then, lights out, we're racing in Moto2 here in Assen, and Alberto Ferrandis has made a superb start from his first ever front row. He's going to lead the field for the first time on the run down to the first corner. Alonso was caught napping there off the line, and now Ethan Guevara goes up in the 2nd place, so Blue Crew have a top 2.
Trying to pick up Manu Gonzalez. I think he's still where he started in 7th place. Certainly looked to row behind him like Joe Roberts jumped to the start.
Well, this is alien territory right now for the number 54 of Ferrandis. First ever front row start, first time he has ever led a Grand Prix. There were no nerves, there were no butterflies for him off the line. It has been superb, this, by the rookie.
Yeah, what a start for the Blue Crew. Boscascuros, Ferrandis and Guevara. It's a Blue Crew 1-2. It's an Aspar 3-4. Alonso from Holgado. And then we've got the first of the intact riders, Senna Aegis, having gained a place up into 5th.
Another dynamic start by Ortola as Aegis goes on the inside of, that's Holgado at Steckenval. Ortola, the Renault winner, started 15th. He's already up into 8th place. Another brilliant start by Ortola.
And Gonzalez has taken Vietti too, so he's now running in 6th position. The World Championship leader making some early progress. So too is Ivan Ortola, up in 8th place from 15th on the grid.
So Ferrandis then it is that leads. Huertas has got himself up inside the top 10. He had a season best qualifying in 12th place.
So what's David Alonso going to do about this? Is he going to attack early on? Is he happy to stay there? He's attacking early on. Lovely move into the Ramshock and very nearly a moment there. You do not want to crash there, Ethan Guevara, who's now fighting back on Alonso, retaking 2nd.
Once again, it is a Blue Crew 1-2 at the front of this Grand Prix. It has been a dream start here for Ferrandis, who leads over the line. His lead was just over a quarter of a second clear of Guevara. Ortola up into 8th place. He's had a superb start once again, hasn't he? Forasato's gone the wrong way. He's lost 5 places on the first lap. So too has Van den Gorberg, who started in 13th. Van den Gorberg's been pushed out of the points down to 19th. I
think the happiest rider in this leading group might well be Aegis, now up into 4th place, as Guevara has a little bit of a look up the inside there of his teammate Ferrandis. That's Vietti, who's having a crack at Gonzalez for 6th and 7th, as Salach gets out of the seat as he's trying to go with this leading group of 8 ahead of him.
Yeah, just asking for the power that little bit too much there, wasn't he? Salach on the exit of the Struben. We're on board then now with Guevara through this wonderful sweep, the high-speed sweep through 6 and 7. We're now attacking the north part of this Assen circuit. Through turn 8 we go. Steckenval, it's still Ferrandis, although he lights up that pearly rear tyre, doesn't he, on the exit of 8. Big slide on the curve there for the 54. It has not cost him the lead.
We've got some inter-team warfare here at the front of the field. We've got the 2 Blue Crew Boscascuros. Guevara now up the inside of Ferrandis. We've got the 2 Aspar Calexes and the 2 intact teammates of Aegis and Gonzalez in this leading group of 6.
Guevara makes his move then at 10. What can Ferrandis do to try and strike straight back here? Now we power through this sequence of breathtaking fast right-handers. Now they'll bank it left. Through 15 we go. Alonso's got the inside line. He's picked off Ferrandis. So the early leader now back into P3. He's under big pressure as well. Coming from a long way back. Holgado on the inside of Ferrandis and Aegis. Some move that by Holgado on the brakes into the chicane. 5th to 3rd.
Alberto Ferrandis, welcome to front-end Moto2 battles. He's really getting an introduction as to what Moto2 race leading is all about. Munoz has set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, unsurprisingly, from 21st on the grid, and my eyes were not playing tricks on me at the start. Joe Roberts did jump the start. Double long lap.
Oh, Munoz will be absolutely livid that he got the technical penalty. He was brilliant over 1 lap to get himself 4th on the grid, but the fairing infringement, somebody's down there at the background.
Is that Munoz?
Oh, there's contact here at turn 5 as well. Furasato gets checked. I don't know what happened there going into turn 5. Double on that then for Joe Roberts. It is Munoz. I think we have lost Munoz. Well, he was just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix into the 136 lows, but he has crashed out at turn 4. He's gone so far, he's gone through the long lap penalty loop there, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, let's hope he's not done some damage. Looked like he was favouring his hand there as Alonso's now having a look. It's now the Aspar pair that are ganging up on Ethan Guevara, who hasn't got his teammate there to act as a rear gunner.
Oh, here's Holgado. This has been a brilliant start. Somebody's gone down. Somebody in a headset has gone down. It's Vietti tumbling into the gravel at turn 10. Celestino Vietti then had a big practice crash at turn 5. A nasty high side out of 5 on Friday afternoon. His weekend goes from bad to worse. Vietti now top 6 contention, and that's a massive dent in his championship. He came in this Grand Prix third in the standings. He might lose that third place to Aegis or Alonso.
Oh, Holgado at the inside of Guevara. He's feeling very racy, isn't he? In these early stages, Holgado taking Alonso 5 corners earlier. He now takes the lead from Ethan Guevara.
Well, you better be ahead of Holgado into that Timor chicane later in this Grand Prix, because otherwise you're going to be in a real whole world of pain, because he's so good going into turn 16 on the front end of that Aspar Calix. Cutting to a tight inside line, going through 3 there is Guevara in second place. He can't find his way through. Kinet's getting the upper hand in an all battle pool. Elfmark VDS bragging rights. He's just taken 12th from Onju.
Yep, so both of the intact teammates, Aegis and Gonzalez, have now passed Ferrandez, who's back to 6th place, as Guevara almost cut into the grass there, so desperately wants to get the straightest run out of Distrubun. So it's Holgado, Guevara, Alonso, your 1, 2, 3, Aegis, Gonzalez, Ferrandez down to 6th. Ortola's done a heck of a job to get himself from his loaded grid position into this leading battle, and Philip Salach at the moment is just hanging on there in 8th place.
This is awesome Moto2 action here, isn't it? In Assen. Here we go then now up into the Bolt, the left-hander. Down the gearbox we go. 96 Holgado it is then, that leads. Holgado is winless since the second round of the campaign. That brilliant victory on our first visit to Goiânia, our first visit to Brazil in over 2 decades. Hasn't done too much front running since that point, has he, Holgado? But he is leading here in the Grand Prix of the Netherlands.
Contrasting fortunes so far early on for the 2 home heroes. Vaya is up to 11th place from his 14th place grid slot, but Van den Gorberg has gone in the other direction. He's gone from 13th down to 70.
Yeah, not too much front running for Holgado. This is the first time he's led since round 2 in Goiânia. You're not going to pass Holgado on the brakes into turn 16, are you? And he sort of starts gapping the field. He makes up so much time on the entry to that final chicane. Fastest laps from Ferrandez. PB lap from the rider in 6th place. Hanging on to this 6th place. He tops it out with Gonzalez.
Yeah, he's up into 5th place now, is Alberto Ferrandez. Not looking out of place, is he, in this leading group? So Manu Gonzalez, rather than looking forwards, well, he is now looking forwards, because Ferrandez has given him that 5th place back again.
Yeah, now